What's happening, everyone? Tato Khatebe here. Welcome back to my channel. So about 2 months ago, at the beginning of November, I was invited to the Bazaar Berlin in Berlin, Germany. Basically what that is, it's a trade show where traders from across the world are invited to come and showcase the work that they're doing, and it's an opportunity to sell to the German public and basically break into the German market as it were. So I was invited to come as a jewelry representative from South Africa, where I was tasked with selling South African jewelry to the German market, as I said. So I wasn't there to sell my own work per se, but I was there as well representing the University of Johannesburg, which is where, as you guys know, I'm employed. So I was representing, I think it was about 8 different jewelers from South Africa, and I was there to basically answer questions that have to do with the South African jewelry industry and to basically give context of what our industry is all about. So it was a big honor, and I was a little bit scared at the beginning because to be able to show what we are capable of, and it has to come from me, was a little bit scary to start with, but I think I did a good job in that regard. So this video is basically, it's actually 2 videos. Video number 1, which is what you're gonna be seeing shortly, is what the trade show was all about. And then part 2 will be showing you what I got up to outside of the actual trade show. So I thought this was a really cool thing to show you guys, and it was my first time outside of the country as well, traveling internationally, so I really enjoyed that. And this is what is coming up for you guys to enjoy right now. So until we meet again, have a great rest of your day, and we will chat very, very soon. Peace. All right, so in early November 2021, I was invited to the Bazaar Berlin, which is a trade show where people from around the world, different businesses, are invited to come and showcase their work, and it's an opportunity to sell and to basically network with different people. And I was asked to represent South African jewelry at the trade show. So I was very honored and privileged to be able to do something like that. Now, I wasn't there to showcase my own work personally. I was there to represent, I think it was 8 different jewelry businesses from South Africa, and I was also representing the University of Johannesburg, and I was there to answer some questions if people had, and to try and sell the jewelry as best as I can. Now, I was lucky enough to be put in business class to fly to Berlin, and this was my first time actually flying internationally, so this was quite an experience for me, especially because of when I'm not used to that kind of the amount of space that I got to see inside the actual cabin in the aeroplane. And you are offered coffee whenever you needed, and all these different types of things, which was a great experience for me. So I really did enjoy that part of things. And because it was my first time flying internationally, to be able to see all this different information, like where you are currently flying and what altitude you're at, and just how long it's going to take you to get to the destination. I mean, that is something that you don't see in your local flights. So that was quite nice. So we landed around 5 minutes to 7 in the morning at Zurich International Airport. That was for my layover. And when I was going to the next boarding gate, I realized that I had to take a train. And just to show you how big the airport is in Zurich, a whole train had to now take me from where we landed to the next boarding gate. So that's when I realized just how next level things are in Europe. And I had to basically rush to get to this next boarding gate because the next flight was taking off immediately. And if it wasn't for the train, I think obviously I would have missed my flight. So now leaving Zurich to go to Berlin wasn't that long. I think it was about an hour from the airport. So I had an opportunity to basically see what the countryside in Germany looks like. And when you're up in the air, you can't really tell where you are. It doesn't look like much of a difference from South Africa. But, I was very excited to see what the country actually looks like. Landed at around 8:45 in the morning. And it was a nice sunny day. And, at this stage, this was where I could feel that I am no longer in South Africa. Number of reasons. Obviously, it was the language difference, so everything was written in German. But thankfully, there are translations that are there as well for you to be able to see where you are going and to see what where you have to head to. So that was also quite nice. And then when I left the airport, I found a taxi, and I think this guy knew that I wasn't from Germany because he charged me 55 euros for this trip. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds a bit excessive. But you know what? You gotta make your money somehow, I suppose. So I arrived at my hotel room, and yeah, the hotel was okay. It wasn't anything special. Obviously, you don't know what you're gonna get or what kind of amenities you're gonna get inside the hotel because it's the first time there. But it was your basic hotel room. One bed. It was a double bed, if I'm not mistaken, and it was basically that. There wasn't anything fancy. It was just a room where at the end of the trade show I'd come back and sleep and kind of watch some TV, I suppose, if I wanted to, and maybe get a bit of work done. But as I say, to your basic everyday hotel room, nothing too special.
Bitte, lassen Sie mich aufmachen. Will, eins könntest du tun, um mir zu helfen. Ganz egal, was der Louis sagt. Verschwinde. Tut mir leid, das geht jetzt eine
So after I dropped my stuff off, I decided to take a little walk just to see what it's all about, the streets of Berlin. And then I noticed that these electric bikes were at every single corner. And I was wondering, do these belong to specific people? Only to find that these are supplied by the government, and you basically pay for it and you can ride wherever you want to. And when you're done riding, you just leave it there and then the next person picks it up, which I think was quite cool. And then I was a bit hungry, so I thought, let me withdraw some money so I can find a place to buy some food. So I withdrew about 50 euros, which at the time, because of the exchange rate, was around $1,000. And then this is what I got for lunch. It was just a basic burger and chips. Got myself a drink, and I had to try out this Milka Oreo. Those of you that know me know that I am a big fan of chocolate, so I had to try that out. The next morning, I woke up, I went downstairs for breakfast, and the breakfast was a roll with ham, cucumber, tomato, and a coffee. Then it was time for me to get to work. As you can see, another one of these bikes. So then I went to the train station. It was time for me to head out to set up for the trade show. So I arrived a bit early in Germany. I didn't arrive specifically in time for the trade show. They wanted to make sure that I at least had time to set up and to basically settle into my space before the trade show happened. So what we were about to do now was to set up in preparation for the show, which was happening 2 days from when this was shot. Now the trade show was happening at a place called Bazaar Berlin. It's basically this huge exhibition space, and as you can see, I was basically trying to show you just how tall and how big the space is. So we arrived quite early in the morning, I think about 8:30, and we were there to set up the jewelry. These are the jewelers that I was there to represent, as you can see there. And as I said as well, it wasn't just them to be represented, it was also, of course, the University of Johannesburg, where I'm from. Now, this first day, there wasn't any jewelry setup that happened yet. We were just basically making sure that the lights were fitted correctly and that our showcases were in place and clean before we actually set up the jewelry itself. So this is what happened on the first day. These trains basically reminded me of the Gautrain, but this is basically across the whole of Germany. I just wish we had something like this across the whole of South Africa as well, because these are quite efficient. The nights in Germany, or in Berlin specifically, reminded me a lot of Cape Town. So at that stage, it was like, okay, I didn't feel like I was away too much. It felt quite familiar. And then for food, I decided to have a falafel. I've never had that before. It's like a wrap with meat and like veggies on the inside. It was very, very good. On the second day, this is when we were putting together the jewelry exhibitions. So I spent most of the day, myself and Martina Dempf, and there were other colleagues from GIZ that were there to help with the setup. So we kind of spent the day making sure that the exhibition read as coherently as possible, and to give all of the jewelers that I'm there to represent a good enough space and a good enough platform for them to be able to sell as much as possible. So we spent the day basically putting everything together, as you see like that in the showcases, and we wanted maximum visibility, which is why you'll see the showcases are quite forward in our stand, so that people can also look and walk around and make their decisions. And then later that evening, after the setup, I was fortunate enough to go and view Martina Dempf's studio and workshop. And wow, what a privilege and an honor. This woman has so much work, and I was so lucky to be here.
So this is ancient African work. This is my work. This is a color of Kenyan, inspired by graffiti. And then
Yeah, I can see.
But actually they didn't really make a problem. Filigree, and then look to the inside.
Filigree.
Have you ever seen filigree this quality?
Wow.
The whole construction of the bracelet is incredible.
That is amazing.
It's the Apollo, and that's the Cape Canaveral, and when you open it, then it really opens up. African artist from Kenya, but actually this way of making jewelry, this is also ostrich eggshell, Stone Age tool. All these forms, it's an African piece from Kenya and Sudan, and then they protect all the new beads and corals and what. If you, the funniest, the fantastic, and I cut off the
shop.
And then I went to the museums and studied old ways of. You can see how nicely scratched it is. This is
Look at that.
gold, silver, and ebony. I also work with iron, silver.
That's beautiful.
It's also a natural form. It's
yeah.
cast. Germany style and techniques and the way support her in doing this work.
This is glass at the bottom here.
Mm-hmm. And I had from this exhibition, they gave me a very big honor and made a very presentation of what we were doing.
Your work.
Well, of the exhibition, that's the African work. That's a Ghanaian artist, that's a Dutch artist working with a Senegalese. Magazines for arts and crafts. And the guy who made it, I will take a photograph for you. And this is now where I will fix these. So these are agate with amethyst.
Amethyst, yeah.
And these brass casters as objects from this. And you can see what happens when you cast it in different materials. It's one I just found recently on the Baltic Sea, but it is for sure and I found it now on the sea, on the shore. That's a work that's a commission, and I fell in love with this structure.
The texture, yeah.
And then I took polymer.
Oh my gosh.
These children. It's inside from a tree.
Look at that. That looks like I see eyes and a mouth and a nose there, like
and dark pattern can fix it.
Oh my goodness.
It's fishing line she uses.
And then it was the opening of the trade show. So the show ran about 4 days, and as you can see, people were walking around our stand and basically looking at what work they were interested in, and my job was to answer any questions that have to do with the South African jewelry industry. And you know, a lot of people were very interested in what work was on display. You can see that all the work is quite colorful, and a lot of found objects and alternative materials were used. And you know, I think that was the draw card to this specific exhibition for us, because people were drawn to the different materials that were used. There was one designer in particular who made bags out of those bottle caps that you find on cans, and her exhibition was quite a hit, and I think she made the most sales out of everyone. So yeah, the show was quite a success, if I say so myself, and I think it did help to have somebody with the context of South Africa there to explain what the work is all about. Right, so this is just a quick look around the rest of the trade show, just so you guys can have an idea of what it was all about. As you can see, there's clothing that's been sold, there's different various artifacts, and there was also a fashion show. Now, the one thing that I was really impressed about was how Africa as a whole was represented on the trade show. From, I mean, the artists, the artwork that you saw, the sculptures, those were from Zimbabwe, and we were there as South Africa to represent the jewelry from our country. And basically everything that you are looking at right now is from the continent, and I think to see that kind of recognition is quite nice to see. And of course, there were other things that were being sold. And, having a look around, it kind of reminded me of the Rand show, where, as you can see, wine is being sold, and there's various other things that are being sold. Things from cutlery to decorative stuff that you can have in your house to other forms of jewelry was there. So it was quite a wide-ranging trade show.